add? He skipped forward. Mm-hmm. Bless.
Welcome.
Okay, so welcome back.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
It's good to be here.
Likewise. Good thanks.
You're gonna have to speak up, right?
Likewise.
Nice. Whole thing just like this.
No, so last time we were here, we talked about cash planning.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Remember the big sheet?
Yes.
The whole idea was not to make it some big plastic kind of exercise, but to start looking at how, when you're planning an enterprise or a business or a project, that
Right.
you can have a way to not have to keep it all in your head at once, right? But to put down the different pieces that tell the story of the project or the business or the plan, right? And have a way to back into how much you need to ask for if it's going to require an investment, or by when certain key things have to get done, right? That was the whole purpose of it, really, to create like a planning tool. So, and my objective today is to not talk as much as I talked last time.
Right.
So, how did that leave you off last time? Like, where are we? What do we need to recap? What questions might there be? Because if you have a question, I'm sure anyone who's listening would also have a question.
Okay. I'll let you go first.
No, you're not gonna get off that easy.
Oh no, I'm not trying to get off.
No, I'm still thinking and brainstorming.
Okay. Well. Okay. Ultimately, the tool gave you clarity and prepared you and showed you prior to getting to the points or getting to a time frame where you would be. So let's plan now. Let's not plan then. Let's not get caught with our pants down, or
With our plans
prepare.
down?
Our pants down.
Oh,
let's
not
not get
plans down.
Plans.
That
I
was good.
apologize. Well,
That was
yeah,
good.
let's
I
get
was like, I use
that too. But the point was to ensure that your plan is well funded and well prepared for ahead of time. So you see something about to happen, you're already there. So let's say this is about to drop. So let's make sure we try to ask for this, or try to get that, or save this, or retain that, or and so I thought from leaving that this is a tool that without it you're spinning, you may spin your wheels a few times unnecessarily in your business. And even if your business is successful, it could have been even more successful even earlier if you immediately was using this tool without hesitation. Get it all in place. And so that was my feedback.
Cool.
I would love to get my business to move on that track.
Got it.
Immediately.
What business are you in?
Currently, we have multiple businesses, but the one that we were dealing with today was involving short-term leasing. So we are taking we're taking one building at a time, but there's a few buildings that qualify under the zone, the C1 zone, where the one single-family home can be turned into the multi-family home. Mm-hmm. And 3 units basically, the basement, the first floor, and the second floor each can be their own unit. Mm-hmm. And separate entrances, all their own kitchen and bathrooms, mm-hmm. everything. But so the property, the basement itself, digging it down to 7 feet so it can be added as actual square footage to the situation. So you're adding square footage, you're adding the 3 units, which will, so if the property currently was 125, 150, 175, whatever the average is, at its, now you done made it where it could possibly be a $300,000, 250, 275, 325.
Okay.
So that's the reason I'm sketchy with the numbers, because the appraisal is coming soon. That's actually going to be able to say what the value is going to be based on the vision that we're moving with.
Are you redeveloping the property?
I would like to jump in.
Oh, yeah, jump in. Go for it.
Well, we have a business called Rise to Town Property Development and Management. We've been fully vested on Ricestown Road since 2006 when we purchased our first property. We currently own 3 properties, 2 side by side and 1, if you skip 1 building, 1 over. There's also 2 buildings on the block that's vacant, 1 between our 2 properties and 1 on the end that futuristic we'd like to be able to also acquire. So currently we're dealing with 3 tangible properties that we have ownership to. Currently, 1 building a couple of years ago we renovated and brought it to full renovation with 4 bedrooms and because this particular building is in like a situation that we need to we've owned the building for a long time, but we almost lost the building through another partnership that we had with someone when we were doing the business, so we rebought it at auction, and at a much lower price, which was a blessing, you know, so that's more equity for us. However, we need to complete the final purchase, and it's been over 2 years that we bought ourselves with a lot of time with the court, but now it's over. They've actually put the house back up on auction, and so
they haven't put it up for auction, but they scheduled a time.
They scheduled it this month, and we just got an approval from a hard money lender,
and based on what they said, not to cut you off, but based on what they said, there is time for us to put in information to
buy more time, you know, showing that basically that we have proof of funds and all of that. So we're about to go into that mode of operandum this week, along with trying to figure out how we're going to get the money for closing.
That's the big part.
That's a big part.
Making sure that, because they're going to cover a portion of the major portion of
they're going to cover the purchase price,
the purchase,
but
right.
They want to
They're not going to cover
No,
the
no,
whole
no,
purchase
no. They're
price.
not covering the
They're
whole
gonna cover a
purchase.
large
They're
portion
covering
of
the whole
purchase price.
renovations. We're asking for $60,000 for
They
the
are cutting
renovations,
them, yeah. But
and that's going to come in draws.
they're not giving us the money. We have to first have our money and then they reimburse us. So that's how that goes. But they'll fully reimburse us and fully cover it. Whereas with the purchase price, they're saying they'll come up with a large percentage, and we'll probably have to have, pretty much 20. They had the wrong numbers, and how much did we have with the wrong numbers?
I mean, those details I don't think is really even necessary, but
all necessary.
we basically asked for 120, and 60 was just covered for the purchase, the remaining balance of the purchase, and that's with per diem charges. We got the building for a lot less, but we saw time for like 2 years, so per diem charges involved in that, and then we have our and the renovation costs. So the point is, we have monies to bring to the table. We got to figure out how to bring that money to the table. Then we need to also organize a real tight budget for our renovations. Everything is based on draws, everything. So just the mindset of having going forward, strategy, 1, 2, a budget, 3, an order, a plan A, plan B, plan C. All of those things are going to be necessary for us to be able to move forward.
So 1, coming up with enough funds to make sure you purchase the building. But 2, coming up with enough funds, because let's say, for example, the $60,000 to renovate it is really $70,000 to renovate it, or $80,000 to renovate it. Where's that money coming from? So we have, one step is to get the purchase price. Second step is to get it built up. Now it is the point that we're bringing forward is we already have someone that can help us lease it at just a regular lease, not a short-term lease. Long-term lease,
long-term
like month to month or
B.
6 months, 12
Our
months.
plan A is short-term. We've done it before, but plan B is more of a solidified term for people.
It sells to everyone.
It sells.
Right.
Long-term sells versus short-term. Short-term might seem sporadic, but we're maximizing on our gains by doing short-term. But we know long-term is where the security for people is. If we have a 1-year lease with someone paying $1,400 for the unit per month, that's supposed to be a contract that represents money, versus we saying randomly, we're renting it $75 a night for people to come in and out and whatever.
Yep.
But outside of that, I wanted to bring up the fact that how are we funding this? He said we have multiple businesses. One of our main businesses is Speedy Hall Uplifters Contracting Services, which is where eyes, ears, hands, and heart. I just added that lately. To property managers, investors, people, flippers, homeowners, residential renters, whatever, that need, whether trash taken out, demolition going on, materials being delivered, blocks being moved, evictions, a plethora of different services that we offer. As long as we can guarantee that we do it, then it can get done. We do it.
Any service that needs to be contracted will oversee it. It's not, from the point of acquisition to sale or lease and property management ongoing.
So that is what that's our bread and butter. That's how we make our funds. That's how we survive off of that. That's one of our main. I could talk about other things that we got going on that are major, but that is what we're doing with, and that also requires its own budget, its own functionality, and that's the main thing, because that's what's going to feed the project. While loan money is borrowed money, and borrowed money is borrowed time, and you gotta pay it all back. So how are we gonna pay it back?
Both of those projects are what we would need to both work on as far as simultaneously.
Exactly.
But one before the other would be the one with the property, the assets, and the threat that somebody is trying to take your property. If you don't get
so. Thank you for sharing all that.
That's a lot to share.
But it's juicy.
And there's a lot more.
I bet there's more. I know there's got to be like 2 more businesses out there you haven't told me about yet.
We are also pioneers in the thrift industry. We have ran thrift supercenter for over several decades. We service the community for about when we bought our first house, 2006, which is the house in question that we're
Stopped
talking
in
about.
2017.
And we stopped in 2017
But
for
with the
array of
brick and mortar
reasons.
stopped, but we stayed doing.
But we were
online.
still online, right? But we stopped
We
in
recently had a
2017.
warehouse.
That's the reason why we even acquired the 3 buildings, because all 3 buildings served as our thrift. Our
Houseware
thrift mall,
department.
houseware department, clothing department, everything was departmentized.
There's
So
a history to those buildings.
Lots of history, all our children were born in one
That's
of the
actually so
buildings.
beautiful.
I mean, we have 10. All of them. Yeah, we're sound.
Yeah.
So, well, 10 from my womb.
9 of them were born there.
9 were born there. 1.
9 were born
Well,
there.
no.
Wow. Okay.
7.
7 were born there. Yeah,
Integrity and radiance.
We were born there, right? But we still put it. We home birth all our children. So
They didn't have
That's another project that you.
yeah, it's a whole other project,
Good
man.
thing.
There's a lot to talk about, and we're trying to decompartmentalize our life as we
so
speak.
that we can
but it's
get
all
something actually,
it's
so you can have something gold
tangible.
and then make every other situation match that gold and
because they all relate with each other.
and without the gold, it really starts to mess
Well,
each
yeah.
other.
All right. So, one. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
This is being recorded.
Yes.
There'll be some things you might not want to say on a recording.
Okay.
Which is fine.
We had the waivers.
And if I ask questions that prompt an answer that you don't want to share, just go like,
This isn't live, so you can always.
I know, but
flow
just
is good, too.
because what's always great about the generosity that you are offering here is that there's so many other people who get something out of it, and it's still your personal business. So we want to be, we want to honor the generosity, but we also want to keep it within reasonable business limits.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. So that's thing one. Thing two.
Protect your ideas.
This comes up in the context of me talking about cash flow and management, okay? But given what you've shared, I think we got to back up. And now you talking about real estate. I love real estate. So that's okay, we're going to be here for a while.
Right.
Talking about real estate.
Side note, they are smashing on pizza, and I just smell it. And you guys need to like come and bring some over here. Like disgusting talk.
Yeah, she was hungry when we first came, so
Okay.
I gotta smash while we speak.
that's why she ordered it.
I will smash on the
Yes.
water.
Okay.
Water smash.
I'm good.
All right.
So, kind of getting down to the brass tacks part of it.
Just tell me when you're not.
It may or may not be helpful to talk about, project planning and whatnot. I think we got to back up and look at the big picture. All right. So, if I'm tracking you, what I heard is that look, we basically have access to 4 parcels. All right. 3 of them are houses that we own, but there's one in the middle that's vacant.
And one on the corner of.
And one at the corner.
So
So
it's
there's 5. All right.
5.
So there's 5 parcels, right? 3 of which you own. Okay. One of them is a work in progress in that it actually has 3 phases to it. Right? There's the, buy it, get it away from the auction phase, right? There's the let's redevelop it phase, and then there's the let's lease it up short or long term phase, right? So you got 3
Exactly.
mini projects inside of that one of the 5 parcels that are on your mind, right?
Correct.
This has got nothing to do with the property management, et cetera, business that you run that is your bread and butter.
Right.
This is in addition to that,
Right.
and 9 kids. Okay. Just making sure I understood the whole
Completely.
picture. Okay.
Yes.
You guys are busy.
There was 9 kids born there. We have 11 children.
Okay, you have 11 children.
Sorry.
Well, they're all going to be carrying drills and shovels in a minute. So they're like,
They already
that's-
do.
Oh, they already do.
They work.
That's
their
cool.
home business. They work for the.
Homeschool.
Very cool. And they're homeschooled. Okay, yeah, you guys are busy. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 parts of the parcel in question. All right. If I understood you, you are on a timetable to
Extreme.
acquire that. It's being sold by a lender, right? And so it's not a public process, but a private process to dispose of that property for them.
Well, it's public because now it's back on the auction.
Right, but it's not the city that's selling it.
No,
it's
not
a bank.
The city. It's a bank.
Okay, which means there's a human being someplace that you can talk to that's not operating under a statute and say, hey, wait a minute, what you really want here is money. I got the money. Stop.
Exactly. That's what we want. And what we've been advised by the lender that approved us is that more than likely they're going to ask us for a certain amount, some earnest deposit for
Earnest
just
money absolutely.
holding it a little bit longer.
Yeah. So it's been a while, but that was my first profession, was being a lender.
Okay.
So I was a banker. And so I have some knowledge of these things, although the industry's changed a lot, and I don't claim to know everything, But that's if I'm giving opinions, it's just opinions. You take it or leave it, right? It's from that context that I'm operating, and I'm just saying, and I may or may not be the most current person, right? I also work with clients who are buying real estate these days, so. Chances are your lender wants to see your commitment letter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that your commitment letter is going to say, we'll do a certain loan to value, right? And you got to come up with the rest for the acquisition, right? Okay. You either have that money or you don't.
You do not.
Okay. If you don't, you need to find it.
That's what we're working on now.
So if you are going to find it and it's not going to come out of your pocket, like you don't find it in the left pocket when you're only looking in the right pocket, right?
Right.
Then you might need to talk to an investor, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that investor's going to say, well, what's in it for me?
Correct. And that's
Exactly
what
what
we
we
were
were
just talking about.
Okay.
It. So right now, the lender
They wouldn't be first on the
would be the
loan,
first-
on the building.
first title. First lien holder.
Right.
So what can we possibly offer this person other than money's promise of money?
Ownership.
Ownership. That's what
Partnership.
we were talking about ownership. We were talking about partnership, a percentage, in the business of
Yep.
the leasing.
Yep.
And that's how they will essentially secure their money. If they
Now, we did already write up a plan for partnership, but our plan for partnership was based on the person helping us purchase
everything.
and do now they kind of are still helping you with everything because you're
Yeah.
not going to get anything
So-
unless they help you.
So that's why you want to think about this as three parts of the same thing. Okay. Now you've already obviously purchased and operated real estate, all right? So
Correct.
you're not strangers here,
Not at all.
all right? So that's an amazing advantage, all right? You're just adding the sweetening pieces to your flow of activity, right?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, you need an investor, all right?
We
The
do.
investor is going to want to know what's in it for me.
Right.
And if you say owning a piece of this, it's like, great, what's my rate of return?
Right.
How do you protect me, right? How do I get out? What rights do I have, right? So hold all that thought,
Okay.
because
Okay.
you can't actually answer that question until you
Think.
model out the other two parts of your flow here, right?
Okay.
The rehab and the operations,
Right.
okay? And chances are, in the world of real estate, you can't really think clearly about the rehab until you've thought about what the long term looks like. Like, who are you building this for?
So, but we have walked with the contractors. I have a couple of contractors I wrote this thing down to detail, price, what's needed, how
Yep.
long, how should
Yep.
it take. So, and each building is a copycat of the situation. And so it has been thought through as far as each aspect, all the way up to the place being ready for someone to come in, but at the same time, you want to still have a little buffer of funds available just in case of anything, and then also because you want funds already for employees that you're going to have.
But you asked a question.
You used a word earlier I want to bring back into the conversation, all right? Because I hear what you're saying, and you don't want to lose the thoughtful, prudent way you're approaching this, all right? So I'm listening to you talking like, wow, he's so thoughtful and so prudent, You used the word developer. You guys are developers.
Property
You're
management and development.
development. Yeah, you're developers. All right, that's the craziest business in the world. You cannot be risk averse in the development game, right? So you're not stupid, right? That's where the planning comes in. And that's where there's a side of this that is, prudent and thoughtful, right? But the contractors are going to follow your development lead, right? And you've got to be crystal clear on how you make your money on the back end. That's really what's driving the whole conversation, right? It kind of gets to, okay, look, what you were saying earlier about short-term or long-term, right? If it's short-term, that's one thing. If it's long-term, it's another thing, right? But you're clear on what both could be, right? Let's just use the long-term for a minute. What are you going to do? I'm going to chop this up. I'm going to re-permit it. It's going to have 3 separate units. They're all going to be long-term leases. Okay, great. How much rent?
Right, 1,600. It could be
1,600.
It could be. So it depends. Like we've had people offer because it's a good thing to have a nice contract, like traveling nurses or something of that nature.
That's where we're going along. It's supposed to be furnished units.
Okay.
Yeah.
Furnished units, traveling nurses, $1,600 a piece, right? So that's what?
48.
3, 4, 48. Yeah, 48 gross a month, all right? And you're clear on what the operating costs would be and how you'd pass those through?
Yeah, it would be like 500, 600.
Okay, so you want to get really clear on what this finished thing models out at, okay? Because it's going to produce for you what we call a cap rate. You're familiar with this? All right.
Yes.
Capitalization rate, okay? It's the income divided by the value, all right? And both change, all right? You have markets where cap rates go up and they go down. There's other things you could start thinking about in terms of being a developer, like the yield on cost. Like, all right, how much does this project yield given the cost that I put into it? There's different metrics that as a property developer you start to think about. Well, why do you think about them? Well, because I need to raise money 2 steps ahead of this, right? And when I'm talking to my investor, they're going to want to know what's in it for me. And you say, look, I'm going to give you X% of my net operating income, which is going to be 4,800 based on these long-term contracts I'm going to have with these.
The one that we wrote up, it was 33%. It was 51% until you actually get back what you want, and then future would be 33%.
Okay, and we call that, and that's very sophisticated, that's called a waterfall. All right? A waterfall is a profit-sharing arrangement where you do exactly that. An investor puts some money in, they get all the money back, and then after they get it back, the way you split the net revenue changes. And then when they reach a certain hurdle rate of return, it changes again, right?
Yes.
So that's a perfectly valid way to structure an investment deal. But it's all dependent then on knowing that A, that's how you want to structure the deal, and B, that you have a clear vision for what is going to be producing that in the future, right? So that then you go out and you start to, even before you've borrowed the money, you've had the conversations with nursing people who would be renting the place. You've had the conversations with the contractors. You budgeted it out. You know what it's going to cost to rehab. You put in the contingency, all that stuff, right? So when you're having the investor conversation, the investor says, "Wow, they really thought it through. This feels good, right?" Like they already have the clients lined up.
Yes.
But for the building, we would be making the money already. All right, that's a lot easier to raise that money
when it's looking that clear, and that
crystal clear.
Yes.
All right, but you're like 80% down the road.
We have an email that we can email you on. That email encompasses all 3 properties and liabilities associated with them, as well as the value current and APR value after.
Is that what you want? You don't want to offer all 3 properties, do you?
No.
Right.
This deal is only about the first building.
Okay, we'll call that property A.
Property A.
And the other 4 properties, whether you own them or want to own them, we'll call them B, C, D, and
correct.
Property A.
Property A.
Yeah.
The most equity currently.
Yeah. How much do you need to raise for properties A acquisition?
We need to. Well, no, that's not correct.
You mean
he's talking about how much do we need to bring to the table? We
to
already
acquire
have
acquisition.
We're going to get that exact number on Monday.
But I can give you a number already.
Okay.
I can give you a rough number. It's going to be in the 30,000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's to acquire.
That's to acquire and seal this loan deal. The deal is contingent on us having that cash at
You
hand
don't
money.
think you're gonna come up with at least 50%?
That's okay. But what I'm asking is, you have some loan funds that are waiting in the wings for that acquisition.
We have an approval
Mm-hmm.
of.
Do you mind
the
talking
ac-
about the numbers?
I don't have no
Okay,
problem.
all right.
We have an approval of $60,000
Mhm.
for acquisition
Okay.
and 60 for renovations. However, when the lender spoke to us on Friday, her term sheet only reflected 30,000 for renovations. So Monday, she's going to send over the new document that reflects the 60, not 30.
Okay.
All right.
And
But
what do you
there's
think the
still-
purchase price will be?
The purchase price is, we have it at 60. It's
60.
I thought they weren't covering everything. We had to bring something to the table.
And that's what we're discussing, which is the 30 plus that we have to bring to the table.
But
for
All right. So
closing.
you want to get clear.
You're not
I'm very
selling-
clear.
No,
Well,
but you're not
as
speaking-
as
yeah, I
as
understand.
Okay.
as you're working with the lender, you want to be clear on. It's a hard money lender.
It's a hard money lender.
They sound like they've been around the block a few times.
Oh yeah.
Okay. You still want to get really clear with them on which piece are they funding how much of, right?
I
Because
can
it would
bring
be
it up right now.
it would be perfectly normal for any lender to say, okay, let's say the acquisition price is $60,000. Great, I'm going to do at acquisition, 65% of that.
Right. Right.
Why? Why won't you lend me the rest? Because I don't do that. Because I
Right,
need to
those-
see enough of your skin in the game. I'll do an LTV
Right.
or
She
loan to cost
asked
of
me if I had some more flips, then maybe the numbers could change. But we don't have more flips. We have what we have. So.
All right, so she's thinking about lending to you, not just lending to the property, which is a subtle difference, but an important difference.
Explain that, please.
Well, if I'm a lender, and what I am in business to do is to lend money, right? So I'm interested in the relationship that allows me to mobilize more capital, right? Especially if I've got great people, right? I am less interested in doing one deal.
Right.
All right. So I might say to you, hey, I'll lend you $100,000. Right. Okay, that's nice, but it doesn't mean I'm going to lend you 100% of your first deal.
Right.
I might still only lend 60% of that. Right.
This is the approval sheet, but again, that approval is based on a 30,000 rehab loan. She's gonna reflect the numbers to be 60,000 and Monday.
Oh, I see what she's doing.
So the numbers, what we're gonna owe monthly, all of that is gonna change.
Now she's this looks like she's setting it up like a construction to perm loan, right? And expecting an ARV of 150,000, right? She's doing a 75%.
That's
And that
incorrect.
ARV just went up
That
higher because she
ARV
didn't
is
understand
incorrect.
what we were changing
It's
it
going
to
to
the
go-
3
it's
unit.
gonna
That was
reflect
under a
250.
single family home.
Right.
It's going to now
that's-
reflect 2. She said that would be in our favor.
Okay. Yeah. So you're going to end up with a ridiculously low debt on the property and a crap ton of equity if you do this right. If you end up with a 250
That sounds
ARV,
great.
right? Because you'll only have 60 grand against the house and it'll be worth 250.
Right.
All right. That's called making money. We like that. That's
I
great.
like that.
All right. Now, what it looks like she's doing is lending you 60,000, right? But holding back 30 for construction. All right.
And those terms right there also doesn't reflect our earnest deposit that we put down when we repurchased the property at auction. So she has to correct that.
That's
as well.
fine. That's fine. How much was the earnest money deposit?
8,300.
Yeah, okay, so it's not that much, but it's significant.
Right.
Yeah, so that she
said
does have to
deduct-
include
she's-
that.
So she said we are going to deduct that amount from our closing
It was
because
already your equity.
right.
And actually, any costs you put in should also go in there, but that's debatable sometimes. All right, so,
When you say that, can you explain that?
yeah.
Whatever cost.
So when you do these deals, so now, finance people have a million different little charts and forms and, models and ways of looking at it, and they shouldn't be confused with each other. Like, we were starting out today talking about cash flow, okay? Yeah. what I'm about to talk about is not cash flow, right? It's just another way of looking at things.
Right.
But for real estate, there's a little lexicon that's different from just sitting around talking about most anything else, right? So one of the things that's important in real estate is sources and uses. Sources of capital, uses of capital, right? And kind of like a balance sheet, at the bottom, the numbers are the same, right? But what I spend my money on has to add up to where I got it from, okay? And on the sources side, you typically, in flips, see two things. You see bank and you. Okay? And on the other side, what you would see for the whole project is the acquisition price, the rehab cost, all the crazy taxes and fees you got to pay, and the total at the bottom. And those two numbers are the same at the bottom. So like all the things that we spent or gonna spend the money on equal all the places we get it from, right? So this form that your lender gave you, it locked me out. That's fine. That form your lender gave you, that way of thinking is embedded in that form, right? And you want to always be looking at total picture. What do I got to put in? What am I gonna and what do they put in?
Already put in 83, right?
Yeah, you already put in 8,300, so they got to account for that. That's one of the sources, right? And anything you put in, that's your equity in the deal, right? So if they're counting, well, what the loan to value is, or at the early stage we call it loan to cost, right? Because it literally is buying things, it's the cost, right? So you'll see they've broken it down between what they expect. The loan to cost is the LTC here, right? 75%, typically a higher ratio than loan to value, because the whole idea of what you're doing is to increase the value of the property, right? So if you can get a 250 value out of this on the back end, then your loan to value, when all is said and done, if you're not increasing the debt beyond 60,000, is going to be a much lower ratio.
Right.
That's good,
Right.
right? So they do have to include that, but this is all still in the mindset of there are three distinct parts to this, all right? When she says, yeah, it's a $60,000 loan, what she's also said is, yeah, I'm holding back 30 because that's what you're going to use for your construction. So I'm going to give you 60 to buy it, all right? Now, what's also not clear is when she says it's a 75% loan to cost, how does that relate, right? Let's do some math. So she's saying, you're saying it's a purchase price of $60,000?
Correct.
So 45 goes into from her money, and then she wants you to come up with the rest. Does that sound right?
Correct.
That's what I was saying to her. That's the clarity of the fact we got to come up with our with money. Right?
You got to come up with 15 grand
Yes.
minus 8,300.
At this point,
30 something.
that's why she's
How's it
saying
30?
why, and that's what I was wondering.
Look at the bottom.
Because she's not giving you 100% of construction cost. That's why.
Without.
She said no. What she said was she's fully funding. They're fully funding.
Our draw.
The-
That's what they're saying.
They're fully funding the construction. Or are they fully funding?
All right. So
They're
this
fully
is
funding
beautiful.
one of-
This is
one of the
perfect.
above.
This is perfect.
Purchase or rehab.
You are
They're
getting
fully
all
funded.
the questions answered. All right. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Right. It's like the questions that are kicking in your head, but they give teeth to what you can ask her on Monday. Is like, okay,
Right.
so can I give this person a name? Just you can make it up. I don't care. We don't have to.
Let me look it up.
Samantha.
Oh, don't look it up. Just make up a name.
Samantha.
You said I thought I was
Is that-
saying it. Maybe
is that-
you
is that
took
the
it out
name?
of my head.
No,
or-
That's the name.
That's not the good.
No,
All
that's
right.
not her name. But
Good.
I was gonna
We
just
don't-
throw out a name.
Samantha,
and say
the loan officer. All right, Samantha, the loan officer. Okay.
But now that I think
Samantha
about it,
Ayutunde.
wait, hold on. Now that I think
Miss
about it,
Ayutunde.
I do remember her first name. I do remember her, and it starts with an S.
All right, so we'll just
Okay.
call her Miss Ayutunde. I like that.
Okay.
Miss Ayutunde at the loan office, right? You have 3 questions, right? Because you have 3 phases, right? Or 3 categories of question, and each one just gets the transaction crystal clear. All right. So, Ms. Ayutunde, I'm going to use some placeholder numbers, right?
Okay.
What you're saying is that you're going to lend me $45,000 to buy a $60,000 property, and I have to come up with $15,000 minus my 8.3 that I already put in. Yes or no?
That answer would be answered no. I
No.
don't believe that's the case. It couldn't be 15,000. We are required
But it
to
says
bring.
75%. And 60,000.
That's just a
75%
question.
is 45. So required to bring. But what is she? What is she telling you to bring based on? And where's she getting that information from? Like if she gives you a
You're
number.
forcing her to help you put the transaction together. All right.
Right. And
So
she's
what's
been
obviously
very-
missing is the purchase price, right?
Right.
I just threw it in at 60,000.
Right.
Right.
That's the price that we gave her. It's
Okay.
From around 60.
Great. So if she's going to lend up to 75% loan to cost,
That's 45.
that's 45.
Right.
So you got to come up with 15, but you already put in $8,300.
Exactly. So you should.
So we
only
just
have
need
to
to
come
pose
up
the question and let her answer it.
That's right.
67.
Basically.
That's right.
And let her explain the numbers or check
Yeah.
herself and be like, well, oh,
Yeah, you're just making it clear.
My
right?
mind state tells me I should come up with $6,700 to go along with my 83, which becomes 15,000, which is 25% based on the fact you're doing 75% of the loan that I'm asking for.
That could be it.
And
okay, so.
But you see, even if the numbers are different, a lot just got clear,
yes,
right?
very.
One, how much you need to ask this investor for is a much smaller number than I was hearing you use earlier.
Right. And
Thing one.
well, I'm not. I wasn't initially on the. I'll just be honest. I'm not. I wasn't initially on the call. I'm at work.
And we did speak to
then
her briefly. We didn't speak to her. Like, I didn't even realize I had gotten approval. I just called her back and I was like, and
It
then
was-
she was like, yeah,
So,
did you get my approval terms?
you're
I'm like,
developers.
"What?"
You're the developers, okay?
Right.
That means you got to push this
Yes.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the lenders, with the contractors, with the city, with the inspectors,
Right.
with BGE,
Right.
with the tenants, with the marketing rep, whatever. You're the develop. You got to push it all the time, all the time, all the time.
Right. On all
Right.
facets. Yes.
And the best way is not to be a jerk. Unless you're Donald Trump, you can be a jerk. Okay, fine.
But
But
ask
most of
questions.
us ask the questions.
Asked all the questions, and
Bam.
she was very open, and we were asking a lot of questions.
Well,
actually.
because if you're
But we
asking
need
the
to ask
questions,
more.
then you are building the relationship, and you're
Yes.
the best thing that she could have.
Yes,
Yeah?
it was a delightful conversation.
Now you still got to get part 2 done,
But
right?
let's- what
Because
was
part 2 is the construction.
Well, the first question
Mhm.
we're posing to her
Yeah.
is basically these terms are saying that you are going to give her 75% of the purchase price, which would be 45,000, which would remain 15,000. So $15,000 is what I'm bringing to the table
Minus-
my $8,300 earnest deposit.
67.
That's the first thing.
That's the first.
That's the first set of
That
questions.
leads
And
to-
then she'll clarify how we even got to 30s plus.
Hopefully,
so
yeah.
you-
Right?
you run
Yeah.
down
Now, because
6,700.
the second part, all right, is the construction.
Right.
Right now, I'm not clear in what you've spoken so far if she's willing to finance 100% of the construction.
100%
They said
construction.
100% up to 60,000.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that what she's
60,000.
doing is now this is arcane lender language, right? She's creating a credit facility. Okay.
Because if you do it right, they're gonna lend us. My theory is they're gonna lend us whatever the true total cost is ultimately, but because it's gonna be a win for them.
Well, the paper you showed me on the phone says it's $60,000,
Yes.
including 30 of which is for construction.
But this
Right.
is incorrect because she's going to change that 30. No, it's 60 for acquisition, and then she had on this term 30 for rehab, but it's incorrect. She's going to change it, the rehab, to 60. So in total, the full
120.
amount is 120.
Oh my God, that's completely different.
Completely, exactly. That's what I'm trying
And
to
that's
be
what
clear.
we're gonna get Monday. That's the
gonna-
way it's supposed to come out on Monday.
Okay.
Yes.
So the questions remain the same, though.
Yes.
It remains the same.
All right.
Yeah.
The total amount that you might be able to borrow, we'll call that the total credit facility.
Right.
All right. And we'll say that it's $120,000 credit. I don't want to call it a line. I'll call it a credit facilities, right?
Understand.
60% for hard acquisition, right? And no, I don't call it hard acquisition. We'll call it for acquisition, and 60 for construction costs.
Gotcha.
Right. All right.
So just to clarify, it's not 60%, but 60,000. So half.
That's what I'm hearing.
That's
Yeah.
50%.
Yes.
Well, no, because
Let me understand.
I could say to you, I'm going to lend you $100,000, right? But the formula with which I'm going to apply that will only be 75% loan to cost. All right. So while I might have said, yeah, y'all are worth 100, but by the time I get down to it, I still need you to have 25% in the deal.
Right.
Right. So if you go and buy a $60,000 property, even though I would lend you 100, I'm only going to lend you,
45.
Right.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
That's the dance. You want to work that detail out with her. One, so that you know how much you're really approved for, and you get clear on that you were approved for a certain amount doesn't mean that the formulas let you borrow it all, right? So you want to get clear, okay, how much you're going to lend in each phase of this. All right, 75% loan to cost for the acquisition, 100% for the construction.
Yes,
All
that's
right,
what I believe it
and
is.
when we're all said and done, all right, are you also going to go construction to perm with me? And
What
flip
would that
this.
be?
Well, that's when they flip all that construction and acquisition money into a long-term mortgage. All right, some people do that, and some lenders say, no, you're going to go take me out.
The construction to perm, you
Yeah,
said?
permanent loan.
Permanent loan,
Yeah.
basically.
Because if it's
And
construction
what
to
would
perm,
make them decipher to do that?
it depends on how they're set up, right? Like if I'm a lender, all right, so here's the big secret. Unless they're independently wealthy, every lender gets their money from somebody else, right? They're just middlemen, all right? So some lenders have scores of places they get their own money from, right? And some of those people say, no, we only want to do the construction part. No, we like to do the long-term part. No, we want to do the short-term, blah, 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 blah. And so whether they're a broker or whether they're actual lenders, their whole thing is managing all the places they're getting their money and then showing up to you like they're the bee's knees and they got all the control, and they don't, They have to go answer to someone else, right? So depending on where they got their money, they may or may not want to do the long-term piece. They may or may not want to do the short-term piece, and they might have 10 other tricks up their sleeve, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So and the good ones will know their own programs well enough to know where to park you, right? So
Already.
yeah,
When they
they're already looking at you saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do 10 deals with these guys. They like to flip houses.
Right.
I'm going to sell this piece to that one, and I'm going to get them in on this program, and they won't call it a program to your face, right? Because they're going to put their label on it, But it's win-win in that world,
That's
right?
okay.
So construction to perm is when they basically term out that loan for you, right? Why that's interesting is because when you have the bump in the appraised value, if you're after a fair value adds as much equity as you think it is, the ratios for the long-term loan might allow you to take extra cash back out.
Right.
Hello.
Right.
Why? Well, because if you have a cash-flowing property with, Johns Hopkins says, yeah, I'll put all my nurses there for the next decade. Great, wonderful. Then,
Something you can show to them.
Yeah, you show that A credit, client to a bank, they're going to we'll lend you 80% loan to value on your permanent. Okay, well, you're in it way low value, right? I don't even know, my brain's not working math, but if I did 60,000 divided by 250, that's 24%. So if you're 24% LTV, after an appraisal, and you're after a fair value, you've got lots of equity to go back up to 80% and take out a chunk of cash for yourself. Right? And then your tenants are going to be paying for you to take the cash out for all this next 30 years. Isn't that nice? And that's the money you use as your equity in the next deal.
That is exactly how a suite is supposed to feel.
Yeah.
And then each building is just a like I said, a copycat of the first. That's why I want to get this one right.
Yeah. Well, now in the world of construction, if you've got a crew or you've got a GC that can do that reliably, that works.
So,
And as a developer, if you're out schmoozing your portfolio of clients who are going to keep putting those nurses in, all right, then you become reliable for investors. And someone's going to say, why should you make all the money? I flipped some houses over here, and I don't want to ever manage a construction crew again. Why don't you just take my money and help me earn by, you do the work, and I'll take a little bit. But, it changes the conversation, all right? But all that is embedded in the conversations you're going to have on Monday, getting clarity on how these loans actually work, right?
even if you've invested in the auction and
That is-
listing it back
That
and all
is
of that.
chicken chunk change
the reality
compared to
of
what I now have to
right.
do to actually dispose of the property.
Okay,
And you're gonna walk in and just give me money?
Right.
I would take
Right.
that deal.
okay.
Yes.
That's what we've been told.
We'll take
It's
that.
scheduled for the 21st.
It's-
That's how.
What we're bringing to them is
That's
what they
how
want. That's what they're gonna want. They
coincidence.
re-auction and they do the same. They get.
Are you guys in any kind of a church or a
No.
group, or do you have relatives who
We're all
are?
tapped out, King. I don't even
I'm
know
just
how.
I'm just saying, like, you know,
No,
for
Oh,
a few $1,000s, just
appreciate it.
I
get
know,
that
right?
deal done.
Thank you.
We're gonna have to go outside the box and really think about this one. Who would be really willing? And like you
Well,
said,
if
we
it's
were
just
talking about partnering. Like, who wants to really? Who has the money? Like, they don't have to like
But
go apply for.
We're only
money.
talking
They
about
have the money.
$4,000, $5,000.
No, if we were talking about the 30, as we had stated initially, what the lender had spoken, there's some details we may not be relating to the king right now that we're missing and that we'll find out and confirm on Monday. But given the fact, if it is $30-something thousand, who's gonna lend that? $4,000, we can get that money up ourselves. 30,000, that's a whole nother story.
What else might there be that you think you might have missed? That's a big difference. 4
Well,
to 30.
she was adamant about
Yeah.
the amount, and she was adamant
She
also.
is the
the lender.
Okay.
The lender
So in
representative.
other words, we're saying 75%, but that's not. In the math, we did 75%. Came up with a result. That wasn't the number she was
So then
saying,
there's something
and I didn't
we're
get a
missing.
chance. I didn't get a chance to even look at the report. Remember, I'm just being. My wife just merged me into a conference call while I'm at work, and they had already communicated.
My wife's done that
And they
plenty of times.
Yeah, and they've already
good.
communicated 75% of the information already. So I'm just kind of catching up on the recap. And even in the recap, I was kind of, and then I saw details that I didn't understand. But then when it came to the point of saying, "Listen, we got to recap the whole thing anyway because we
Right.
missed this big general
She missed
situation."
a portion
So
of the
Monday we'll
information.
have more information. So I was like, okay. And now we're talking with you, so that's perfect timing.
Yeah,
Perfect.
is the lender, how do I phrase this in a way that is okay to be recorded? Tell me about the lender.
Good question. We were hooked up with the lender through our broker, so I would have to go in and find out what's the company's name.
Yeah, do some research. It sounds like they're nice people, and they want to do the right thing.
She was very clear. She wanted to be very transparent.
Yeah, that's good.
That's how she was talking
That's
to
very
me.
good. That's good. So yeah, I think it comes down to sources and uses, and you could actually break that down by phase. So acquisition phase. What are the sources and what are the uses, right? And they have to be the same number, right? Uses for acquisition, it's like purchase price, taxes and fees. It's what
Right.
you see on a settlement sheet. A settlement sheet, a HUD-1, is basically sources and uses.
Gotcha.
And that's what the title company has to create right now.
Yeah, that's the form that they use to manage settlements for residential properties and for commercial properties. Sometimes they don't have to though. So, because it's governed by a specific kind of regulation, the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. Right?
Right.
So RESPA requires the use of a HUD-1, I believe, still.
Yes.
But the math of it is sources and uses, right? So that's what's on the and it's broken out in a weird way, right? Because they do basically that for the seller and they do that for the buyer, and then there's an extension
Both sides.
sheet on the back that gives you more detail, right? But if you were to do it the way a finance person does it, which is, we're very self-centered. We look at everything from our point of view in the world, right?
Right.
So from your point of view in the world, right? What has to be paid for and how much money do I have to come up with in order to do that along with my loan? Sources, uses, right? So
Right.
for just the acquisition, you want to get clear, what are my sources and uses, right? And it's going to be the acquisition price, right? Any fees and, taxes, and then and the total. And the other side is loan, and you are the rest, unless you bring someone else in alongside you or need to. So it's like if there's a missing $30,000 in the uses, you kind of need to know that right away,
Right.
And if there isn't, but it's part of something else, okay, fine. you know. Given the amount that they want to lend you, they might have been thinking, yeah, you need like $30,000 of equity if you're going to borrow $120,000. You know, could be that.
Right.
You know.
Understood.
But you know, if they're saying no, we'll do 100% loan to cost on the construction, and we'll do 75% of the acquisition. The acquisition is only 60. Then
doesn't make
then
sense.
that's
Yes, correct.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was. Yeah, that's what.
And then also credit is a factor.
Mm-hmm. Always.
And the how many flips you have as a factor.
That's because they're hard money
history.
lenders. Because bankers don't care.
So,
But yeah, credit, that's always going to be in these things a factor. And sometimes they'll just say no. And sometimes they'll say, yeah, we'll do it, but we're going to raise your rate. You know, or we'll do a lower loan to value. You see, the whole thinking is
Risky.
risk. You know, and I pause when I say that because all of this risk thinking is based on a couple of really simple, twisted, but pervasive ideas.
Right. Right.
And the fundamental one is time value of money. You know what I mean when I say time value of money?
Right.
Right. It's the idea that money has intrinsic value. I don't believe that. All right, but then again, I'm a Muslim, so I wouldn't believe that. You know,
No, okay.
but I understand that that's how we built our Western financial world. The idea that I give you my money, all right, since you have my money and it has intrinsic value, the longer you hold it, the more you owe me. All right. So not everybody believes that, but that's how we made everything work. All right. So the problem with that is that, you know, if you sat on my money and did nothing with it and created no value, and then I show up in a week and say, okay,
You owe me.
time to pay. And
Right.
from what value am I extracting?
That money from.
Yeah.
So even as the person acting for
None.
a collection, you should be making sure there's something operating.
Ideally.
But no,
You
that's
know.
not the way we've been.
Well, that's not the way risk works.
Right.
You know, but that's a whole other philosophical story that we don't have to go into. The fact is that's how money works, right? So you quickly, from that in the world of finance, extrapolate a couple other thoughts, which is like, oh, well, then the more risk I take, the more reward I should get, the risk-reward trade-off, right? Okay, well, what's that mean? It means that if I think that this is going to take too long, you know, or that you're not good with money, or that this is too much to lend to this project, or that the season is going to change, or it's going to rain and I don't like rain, or whatever it is that I see more risk in, I want more money. All right, so then if I see risk in you or your project, I raise the rate to compensate me for the fact that you have my money to do this thing. All right, so sometimes a lender can make themselves comfortable with credit by raising the rate. It doesn't make sense when you think about it. Like, if you have weak credit, like, the last thing that's smart to me to do is raise your rate. Let me make this more expensive for the person who can't afford it. It's like, why does that make any sense to people? I don't know. But time value of money. So that's sometimes how they get themselves comfortable doing a quote unquote riskier deal.
And
Just
then
give you insane rates.
The reflection is it's risky for me because of you're basically saying I'm on a shifty situation.
Yeah.
But you just added a shifty. You made it even more shiftier.
Oh, you're gonna
Because
sound
now
like
I
a
gotta,
Muslim.
I gotta owe you.
Don't. This is gonna make you unpopular with people. But that's that's basically it.
Right.
That's why poor people have ridiculous interest rates on their credit cards. It's like, does that make any sense? No. If you don't want people to be poor, give them better rates. Then they'll do more, just like rich people, and they won't be poor very long.
Right.
You know? So I don't necessarily agree with the way the system is structured, but I understand how it works.
Exactly.
Right. So if you're in a real estate development deal, and credit is an issue, then don't be surprised if your lender, especially hard money lender, does the deal anyway, but wants like a 12 and a 15% interest rate.
Right.
And then what we do with the hard money that's willing to go down that path, we say, fine, no problem. Now I'm going to lean on my construction guys. Why? Well, because if I take even the stupidest interest rate on money, but I knock that project out in 2 months, who cares?
Right.
I mean, 2 months at a ridiculously high rate is nothing compared to, a year or two at even a moderate rate.
Right.
All right. So sometimes the efficiency with which I can move through the construction process
Cuts through.
makes my effective cost of borrowing lower, even if it's a higher rate. Counterintuitive, right?
Got it. Got it. That makes perfect sense. Get on the ball.
Yeah.
Get
So
moving.
first thing first, get clear on the specifics of transaction 1. All right. What's the purchase price? What's the loan to cost? And how much do I really have to come up with net of my deposit? All right. Second transaction. Okay, now I got to do a construction project. Am I getting 100% loan to cost? Wow, if I am, that's a sweet deal.
But that's us again. That's us first putting up money and then them reimbursing. That was what
It's
the
coming
term
in
was.
draws.
Okay, so
draws.
let's talk about that for just a hot second.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfectly normal. A lot of times, that's how construction works. You know, and what it means now is you need working capital.
Correct.
All right. So the dance there, if you're going to honcho the construction. The first terms, it's a good day, right? Because I can go buy that stuff, not have to pay for it, put my guys to work, and then put in a draw before I have to pay the bill.
Before the interest.
Yeah.
Some piles. Right. Understood. Yes.
No, I mean actual credit terms. You know, in other words, I don't pay for the lumber for 30 days.
Right.
Yeah, not just the interest part.
Understood. I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
You know, so that I have my draw request in before my bill is due. So then that way my vendors are actually floating my working capital, right? Or I need to have a credit card that'll you know take down 20 grand or 30 grand so that I can float the whole damn thing, you know. But most of the stuff, you know, sometimes lenders, especially in private situations, will give you an advance. You know, you call it mobilization. I need to mobilize and get going.
Her about
But you got to be clear if you actually have 100% loan to cost in construction.
Yes,
It's
and I
all
believe
about
we
flow
do.
capital.
That's what That's what she said.
Yeah,
That's what
floating capital. Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask about that advance, and I'm actually going to talk because our broker wasn't involved in this conversation, which he should have been, because he's trying to get the best terms for us. So I'm going to talk to him on Monday as well.
Yeah.
And see how he can.
Who's your loan broker?
Finagle everything.
Like who are you going through?
You mean number wise?
Who's the broker?
Oh, the brother's name is Harold.
Don't know.
That's
Is he with the company or is he?
That's good.
I don't know his last name.
Okay.
Like he actually we've been dealing with multiple brokers and we had lost contact with him and he just reached back out to us and
That's
was like,
cool.
I'm sorry I couldn't come through,
Yeah, he's in a
but can I
tough
try
business.
again? We were like, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
How about you do it this afternoon, Harold? Let's get it done.
So,
Let's get it
yeah,
done
so-
now.
So
So yeah, you got to be clear that you have actual, you know, what if it's 100% loan to cost in the construction period, great. If you can get an advance for mobilization, great. If not, then you got to look on your GC / construction side. Like, do I have terms? You know, like, can I order stuff and get 30-day terms on these? If I can't, then you need a credit card, you need a line of credit or something where you can, go pay for stuff and get reimbursed. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then in stage 3,
That makes sense. I see what you're saying. You're using that to pay while they reimburse. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
leveraging.
I'm not in that into the business, so I don't know what's available. Usually you have to work your way into credit terms.
Yeah.
Usually it's not the first thing that they want to give you. But
You're talking about the lender.
Yeah.
no, I'm talking about you.
Oh, you're talking about in general.
Yeah, or your general contractor. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm
that's
saying
what you were
I'm saying
talking
that look,
about. Okay, yes. Understood.
if you say you're going to get started, you're going to do the demo, right? And you're going to start some framing, right? Great. Well, you got to buy lumber, you got to rent dumpsters, and you got to do all that stuff. Okay, so who's going to pay for that? Well, you might be able to go to Cocky's or somebody and who's got dumpsters and say, hey, I want to set up an account. No problem. Do I get terms? Oh yeah, we'll give you 15-day, 30-day terms. Okay. Well, why would they do that? Well, because they ran your credit and they know you're good for it, or because you've done a bunch of business with them already, or because this is what I don't know. You got to go ask them. right?
Got it.
Or you go to Home Depot and they have the credit card, or they have some way that you don't have to pay it right away.
Just like your contractor, they can start work and get paid based on your job.
That's it.
And they're willing to work that way.
But then what you've effectively done, right, for the bank's purposes, is you've purchased the goods and therefore can get reimbursed. All right? It was, in accounting terms, an accrual purchase. It added to your accounts payable, but your ass is on the hook for that purchase. Right? So you purchased it. Now go get reimbursed.
Right.
So
but you haven't gone out any cash.
So essentially, we're purchasing the general contractor. That's a purchase to have him start working.
I need just one quick text.
Absolutely, no problem.
It's
There's at least one slice left, right?
Good, thanks, kid.
Oh, wow.
Do some more grass.
Reciprocation.
You want the other bag as well?
I want that. Yeah, those are my drummies.
my son is my son is arriving
Arriving from or arriving
from New York.
to Baltimore?
Baltimore. He's gonna start Ramadan with his mom and dad. So
Oh, that's beautiful.
Not real cheese, not real pepperoni.
So, BWI or driving?
the train.
Right.
Yep. You can't beat it. It's center city to center city.
Wow.
No weird air traffic patterns.
I'm a share you.
It's not the bus.
It's pretty fast and comfortable.
Yeah.
Drummy too.
It's a good deal. I'm glad you guys are in real estate.
Thank you.
Good thanks.
There's so many cities on the East Coast have come and gone, and they don't, in terms of the ownership base does not look like what it used to.
That's a drummy.
It's not, we're not there.
Pie in the sky.
And I'm really just asset driven right now.
That's smart. That is smart, because we all get older. It's better to have assets that earn income than it is to have your ass earning income.
And the amount of children we have, for me to really feel like I'm setting them up properly.
That's so smart. That is smart. That is smart.
Yeah, there's chefs.
So yeah, in the phase 3, it's like, okay, what does the long-term financing for the building look like?
Page 3.
Like who's doing that? Is it the same lender and they just flip their existing loans because they then have lent money to you for acquisition and for construction? Sometimes they can just turn that into a quote-unquote perm loan and sit on it for 15, 30 years.
So should that be a question that is there a potential that this can become a perm loan?
Absolutely. Because you want to know, what are they setting you up for?
It's better than you refinancing or just refinancing.
Well, it's faster, because now when you refi, guess what has to happen? A whole bunch more stuff and more fees and blah, 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 and it takes time. And then you got to go through another approval and send them a whole, all your tax returns again. And they already got that, and they just hit a button and go, click, pay me a little fee, we'll do an appraisal. Done.
That's
a lot
Kane
easier.
in the middle, y'all.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so you want to find out, is this a construction to perm setup? Or are you expecting me to come in and refinance the whole thing? In which case you need to, right now, be in conversation with lenders for that
Right
refi.
now.
About that.
About a refi
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
If they are not going to do perm, or if they
Right.
don't have the potential.
Right, otherwise you will never get out of you'll never get out of this loan. And it's a hard money loan. And they will charge you forever and ever and ever and ever at these ridiculously high rates.
Consume up the building.
Yeah, that was the old trick.
Right.
To get you in a deal. And then, oh, really? You can't pay us? Really? I guess we'll just have to take it from you. Yeah, that's what they would do. But no, there's good hard money lenders, and they make money when they keep doing business with good people.
Right.
So they know that.
Right.
And they only call them hard money these days because they gotta be a little hard. But they also finance hard situations. So yeah, you need to know, is this attempt to perm, or do I need to be talking to someone who's going to refi this? And if it's someone who's going to refi it, then you need to really get clear on who's going to do that.
Who is that?
And be careful with appraisals. It used to be you could call up an appraiser, hey, appraise my building. Nah.
She said that. She said, make sure that someone
Say
is
make
there.
sure you're there to explain what
Your
your
vision.
vision is.
Oh, well, hang on. That's a different appraisal.
Okay.
All right. You're talking about
That's
the
valid.
prospective appraisal where they talk about what the ARV is going to be.
Right.
All right.
This is a different-
And that's good advice you got. You should definitely do that, right? Because now these appraisers are all watching the market in ways that you and I don't every day,
Right.
right?
Right.
So they know. But I'm talking about when it comes time for the permanent financing, all right?
The first appraisal for the actual what it's currently worth right now.
No.
No,
When it's done,
Oh,
when you've done
yeah.
all the nice,
That's a
shiny,
different
new
This is a
improvements,
confirmation of
you know, yeah, and the building is done and you're about to sign the leases, you're going to get a very different appraisal, all right?
This is the one.
That's the one, right? And you need to know what's that worth to the market of lenders, right?
Right.
But I say be careful because these days it's worse with regulated banks than it is with private lenders. But when we had the whole market crisis back in 2007, 2008, one of the professions that really got blamed for a lot of problems was appraisers, right? And ever since then, they've been super conservative, right? To the point where some banks don't let you talk to their appraiser. They send you the damn appraisal afterwards. Don't talk to us. I'm like, damn, okay. But it's a little easier on the commercial side, but on the residential side, you know, with investors, you know, yeah. So you kind of want to. What that means then for you as a developer is, if you are not in a construction to perm situation right now, that you need to be always talking to lenders. Look, if you're going to be developers, this money thing never stops.
Right.
You just get steeped in it. You are always talking money. People get sick of you at parties. You know, you're not fun to be around. Why? Because you're always talking money. Let's move this, finance that, move this, flip that. You know, so and so's a jerk. I got my roof done. Blah blah. That's just the way it is. You know. Now you don't have to be jerks about it. You guys won't be jerks. You got 11 kids. You're not gonna be jerks about it, right? You've been tempered like steel. Okay, so you're perfect for this
Just
business.
aggressive and assertive.
Yeah, but yeah, no. You need to know now who's going to be the takeout, who's going to, and if you can get some cash out, you get cash out at closing, and you know, so that game's different. You know, for an investor, you're going to start to think about your building in terms of gross, right? Less vacancy, right? You know, the standard thing. All right, you're going to work it all the way down past your taxes, insurance, to net operating income. You're going to live by NOI, all right, net operating income on a real estate basis, right? And the ratio of net operating income to overall asset value, all right? And that's where I come back to cap rate and yield on cost and all those things, because the way you're thinking, you want to be able to say, yeah, I have a portfolio that's yielding X, and people are going to go, oh, damn. Better put that in an estate plan. But it gives you a couple of very simple numbers to watch. You know, like, is this portfolio yielding at market? Is there something I need to do? A different kind of tenant I need to get? You know, I need to put a game room in here. Like, you do the right thing to make the thing work, right?
Yeah.
And you watch rates.
Because it is a slash. It's commercial slash resident. As
You
far
said
as zoning,
C1. I picked that up. I was like, really? You can do 3 units of residential in a C1?
Yes.
Second floor, first floor, and basement can all be.
And then you said basement, and that kind of scared me when you said, yeah, I'm going to spend $30,000 for rehab. I said, sounds like you have to underpin the foundation.
To go, it's about a foot now.
It's underpinning.
Right.
That's more than $30,000, my friend.
I'm doing
Our
the
loan
demo.
isn't 30,000.
I'm doing the demo. I'm doing a lot of the demolition, and I got a contractor that does underpin.
Just saying.
I'm in. The contractor told me that's where most of your money is going to be spent. It's here in this basement.
All your money's
All your
gonna be
money's
spent.
right.
Is there water?
There's already water. Yes.
The house
Really?
was
No.
already built.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Is it a
You mean-
dry basement?
It's
Let
a
me
dry
answer it that
basement.
way.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Correct. Dry basement.
That's, you know,
That's a big deal too.
that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Less in Baltimore. DC, good luck. The place is a swamp. People forget it's built on a swamp, all right? So when you go and you try to unfin a basement in some parts of DC, what do you get? Water. It's like, oh, this is not good, you know?
Wow.
But
So they got to pump it out.
you can't.
Whoa.
It's a swamp. You're digging into a swamp.
Wow.
It's like, you know, okay, so like I said, we don't have that problem. You're up on Reisterstown Road?
Yeah.
All right, so the world is downhill from you.
Right.
Right? Like,
Right.
everything is,
That's
you know, geohydraulically downhill.
We
So
can literally see the
you should
city,
be okay.
the top
Yeah.
of the city line. And so.
It's kind of amazing up that way. But, you know, when I first got into development, the guy who trained me said, if you're going to be a developer, you got to know the dirt in every sense of the word. And he was
Meaning the
so
soil,
right.
the dirt, the
Literally the
landscape.
soil to the gossip.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to know literally what kind of soil is this.
Right.
Why? Because some soil doesn't drain. You go out to the suburbs, here we got this weird Maryland clay, right? I have literally been on job sites where I have seen, you know, erosion such that the water is shooting up out of the ground bright red, full of clay, right? A house I built in Howard County had a sump pump running all the time, and we were on a higher elevation, but the sump pump was running all the time. Why? Well, because it was built in this clay that was compacted to a 50-year compaction, right? So they could build it legally, right? But the water would never drain. Basically, you built a house and you put it in a bowl of soup, right? And like the pump just runs all the time. It's like ridiculous. So like you literally need to know the soil, right? But then it could also be that there's like a freaking, you know, slave burial ground down there, or there could be some kind of weird, you know, root system, or it's a seasonal waterway nearby. It's like literally the soil. But then beyond that, it's like, well, what else was built here?
Right.
You know, and I don't know. I've seen all kinds of wild stuff. You know, so outside of that, you need to know like why. You know, like why do we have this zoning? You know, like why do we have a C1? Are you on a main drag?
We're the only C1. The block to the left, the block to the right, the block across the street. There's no C1.
I'm like-
Only we can be C, and it's based on historically that building on the corner was a C1. It had it's still, if you look at it, there was a egress. It was a store
Wait,
down.
so you mean if I look at a zoning map, you in the county?
No,
No.
we're on
In the city?
We're in the city between Orem and Ruskin.
Right
On
down the block
Reisterstown
from
Road.
the Diamond Mall.
If I look at a zoning map, if I look at the city zoning map,
Right.
I'm going to see R's all around you and one little C.
You want to see this little C1 on our
That
lot.
is weird.
Very, extremely.
All right, so
And we-
what some people do in situations like that is they get a zoning opinion.
Right.
It's not cheap, you know, but a zoning opinion, you go to an attorney who specializes, and by the way, they specialize literally by county and by city and sometimes by street because it's such an arcane business.
Right.
You get a professional real estate attorney who can give you a valid zoning opinion that
Why would
says,
we get an opinion?
so that someone doesn't come back and say you should never have built this here and stop everything you're doing,
Why would they do that if the city says we can do it?
because sometimes they're wrong.
Sometimes they're wrong.
The planning above the
Yeah,
above
like
the
just
city.
go and just you want to double check that. That's I'm saying
It's
that's
confirmation.
it's an anomaly, all right. If you because when you were saying this is C1, I'm thinking C1 doesn't have that kind of residential capacity, and you said yeah, but this is different because it's
we
like
have the paperwork, everything circled, how much square footage is allowed in the C1.
And before
everything
she did
went
it,
in.
and that was recently, but I called them in August, and you know, because I saw the way that the place was set up, and we work like we property manage certain people's property who have done where that basement is a home, and so I was like, well, I can't do that with mine, and they were like, well, you got to call zoning and make sure, and I called zoning and they backed it up. It's like
We
3 or 4
also went
times.
to
They keep
zoning.
repeating it.
did they put it in writing?
We
Yeah,
put it
yes.
in writing, gave us
And
the
they-
paperwork.
Alright, I
I can
feel better.
produce it.
I feel better.
I'll send it to you.
I feel better.
Just send it.
I feel better.
Is
So
that-
a city letterhead, and they said yes.
City letterhead said
Then
yes,
okay,
showed, circled,
because that's
made it very clear, gave us the whole rundown of the property and
if you're
everything.
developers,
But-
you live by zoning. So
Yes, mhm.
yeah.
I realized zoning and the use of occupancy permit
That's
pop-
that, yeah,
department will
yeah,
be our best
yeah,
friends.
yeah. Yep.
The inspector office will be our best
Yep.
friends. The fire inspectors will be our best friends.
Fire people actually, you know, people complain about Baltimore. I've had nothing but good experiences, you know, because you can go and talk to people, right? And I was telling someone who was complaining about a property they're working on. I get sent permit office and I call down there. I send them emails. And like, have you gone down there? And I said, just go down there and talk to people.
Yeah, and the lady, she gave us like a whole education class. Like,
Absolutely.
we were there with her for like over an hour.
Absolutely. Same with the fire department. I found that I think these people are good.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And what I find people who are complaining are people who don't go and talk to anyone.
I actually have my notes from her in this book.
And you're doing the right things. You're doing the right things. You know. So cool.
And there's lots more to talk, you know, off the camera, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I love
But even with the well, I guess we thoroughly went through the one side. Now, as far as the other side, the business, as far as the contract services.
Before you go there, because that might be a whole nother evening.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying.
We can
That's
touch
a whole
on
other
it,
topic.
but,
Yeah, that's
you
a
know,
whole other topic.
The stuff we were originally going to talk about, the cash flow planning, right?
Okay.
You don't really need that for phase one of what you're up to. You just need to get clear on what the transaction
Crystal
is.
clear is
Yeah.
your words.
Yeah, crystal clear, you know, which I probably got from Richard Nixon. I'll make one thing perfectly clear. The second phase, you can kind of use something like that, but it gets more complicated. You know, what I find useful that's similar to the cash flow plan, but that works for constructions, is a draw schedule.
Draw schedule,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep. So, like, if you've done these projects obviously
We have,
before,
yes.
and if you use a traditional construction way of looking at things, right? There's what we call a schedule of values, right? The schedule of values has, you know, all of the different amounts that you'd have in the different categories of construction, right? And for small residential, it's broken out differently than for medium-sized and for massive construction projects, you know.
Right.
But you have a column that has all the costs, right? So from your first transaction, sources and uses, you might have something that says, you know, construction or hard costs or whatever, right?
Right.
This is that number broken down by trade.
Right.
Concrete, wood, and blah, 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 and
Electrical,
HVAC, and blah, 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 blah. And then you go by draw. Draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're trying to track the balances remaining in that category on the edge of the sheet. Right. So every time you make a draw, you know how much is being drawn from that contract line item and how much is left.
Okay. I'm gonna actually, well, this is being recorded, so I'm gonna go over that. Like, I don't, since we, you know, just do it off the mind, but we need to start doing these things, implementing them.
Well,
now.
so this is my elitist view. It is elitist. There are builders and there's construction professionals, right? If I want my house done, I need a builder. Right, a builder's going to show up, look at the house, say, okay, you go to Home Depot. I need these things. I need these things, and that thing's going to get built. Right. You're talking like a construction person, right? I have a model for a profitable way to do these houses. I want to replicate it over and over and over again. Now, that's a construction mind. All right. Why? Well, because you are actually thinking about a replicable model. All right, that has a certain kind of margin to it, okay?
Yes, sir.
And if it doesn't get built in the right time, at the right cost, at the right rate, at the right season, it messes with the model.
That's right.
Right. So that's not, you know, a builder's much more tactical.
Right.
You know, they're thinking, okay, we can get that window in today. And that's how they're thinking. You know, and that's fine.
Right.
You know, but they're not thinking, oh, the model. That's not where their head is
Right.
at. It's like, no, a lunch is how they're thinking.
Right,
You know,
right.
so.
We play as builders for our clients. And we're the ones that go get everything that needs to be, and also suggest and make sure that they can see whatever. But what you said is, at this point in our life, we are actually, there's certain clients that we have that are construction developers.
Yeah.
and they have
It's like
cookie
they-
cutters.
It's like they bled
And
over onto us.
over
like,
and
after
over
a while,
the
we're looking
same
like, why are
thing
we not
in
doing what they
each
do?
unit.
Yeah.
And after a
Yeah.
while, it becomes second nature.
Yep.
The build up.
Yep.
That is where we
When
are.
they call
trying
you and
to
they
do.
say, I need you to do the same
We
thing you
already
just
know.
did with this address.
And we come
The
and
same-
do it faithfully,
Yep.
in and out.
Yeah.
So
Works.
we want to, and alongside us being our construction developers, our advantage for where we are going to save our costs is that we are also builders.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going to try to reduce some of the outgoing expenses to contractors and retain those costs by us doing the work.
And we get
Like
and
we
we
do
get ton
for
of, and we
our
get
other clients.
So a GC who builds for themselves is a developer. Sorry, you guys are developers. And you sit next to two vacant lots. Oh my God, you know what that means?
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
At some point, you're going ground up.
Word, sound, power that. Word, sound, power.
That's like a
that.
Rastafarian term.
Got it.
We're not.
Not
I
even
don't think.
Sound
universal.
power.
No.
I get it
know.
now.
It's
I know
basically keep
Ross is
saying what
a
you're
lot.
saying.
Okay,
Let's put
I
it
got it.
into the existence, and that is exactly what we've been honing those two properties for.
Power to
Coincidentally, for over almost 2 decades.
Even the one next
decade
door,
and a half.
there's a 6 property where the 70-something-year-old man is there, and that's here. We'll sell it to us for this, and then we
That
have
would be
that's
the 6th
that's the 6th
property. That
one.
would
I'm gonna
be
wait
exactly
on that
the
one. We're
entire
focusing on the
half of the
5
block.
first.
I mean, there have been cases, although they're not always easy, where you just cut him into the deal.
True.
You know, and it
Right.
could come that he's 70 some odd. He's like, I'm gonna go live in a home or something. I don't need to be trying to mow the grass, and fix my roof.
Right.
But I don't want to just sell. And say, well, I'll cut you a deal. I'll make you a partner. You contribute the land, I'll do the rest, and we'll split the profit some way.
And then you get a contribution
And
for the
yeah,
rest
your
of your life.
retirement's paid.
Exactly. That's
You
what I'm
know?
thinking about. My mom, 60-something years old. How can she get involved in business in a way right now with her credit score good? She actually has a plot of land. She has a half an acre of land in North Carolina right now, and there's nothing being done with it other than her retaining it, and she's trying to figure out. But at 66 years old, like, she left her job and now she's trying to get another one. But I'm trying to figure out how I can help my mom, because she's getting to that point where you want her to be self-sufficient. So how can you utilize this land that you currently have and this good credit that you currently have and turn that into something that perpetually pays you so that you have a retirement income? So you could put something on this land that's bringing in income, as opposed to you, or, can you live on it and do that?
How much land is it?
It's half an acre. It's in North Carolina.
Okay, a half an acre. That's not that much.
No.
I mean,
not that much at all.
you're at a point.
Maybe she sell that.
You might want to think about getting a financial advisor if you don't have one already.
Well, and
So you've raised several estate issues.
right.
I'm not qualified in that area at all.
Right. I understand. I got you.
But I can hear it in what you're saying.
Right.
I mean, I'm not unqualified, but I don't do that work. There are people who are really good at that.
Gotcha.
Why? Well, because you already own land, right? You're going to own more land, right? Your mom has land, okay? You've got kids, there needs to be some. I don't know. It's none of my business if you have a will or not, but
Then all of that has to all be in place.
yeah, but it has to be
Structure.
done now with an awareness of what you have today
Right.
and what you're trying to build for tomorrow.
Correct.
I mean, your mom might end up being your lender.
In some way, shape, or form. That's how.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why? Because she's got great credit. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you give your mom a return on the money that she borrowed and loan to you,
That's
and keep it all in the family. That way you don't lose the land, right? I mean, she could maybe leverage the land. Like she leverages her land, lends you the money, you put it as equity in the deal and pay her back with a return. All right. You just became your own bank.
That's everything. Family.
But
bank.
at a certain point, you want a financial advisor or a private banker, somebody doing that for you, not you have to figure it out all the time, every day.
Right.
Yeah.
And my best, still call him my best friend in way, shape, or form. But my best friend's a accountant out in New York. Pretty much. He was the person that was helping us invest in the first place, but then COVID happened, and then he couldn't refinance the situation, and then it went into auction, and we bought the auction.
That's a story in and of itself. We bought our own thing back at auction.
Yeah, we did. We strategically planned that. It was so funny. I've never bidded on I was the only bidder. I was like, thanks.
That is brilliant.
Brilliant, yeah. People look at the
so
side eye
the
too.
infill development on the vacant parcels and the 6th parcel with the 70-year-old guy, that's a domino.
Right.
You own the whole corner.
Yes.
Right. Half a block.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People already think we do, because we.
You have something that many people don't have, and that I think is often underestimated, which is you have longevity in the place. This is land
Right.
Yes.
To the point of like buying your own stuff back, right?
Yeah.
You'll see there's people in the market that come in from this city and that city, and they want to buy this, they want to buy that, and they just don't know.
Right.
So,
exactly.
This next deal you do is really important.
It is.
Right? Not just because of the obvious, but because you dance in and out of this hard money, they're going to want to lend you more. Right?
Do this right, and you're good. You're perpetually good.
You build because that's what they want.
Right. Perpetuity.
Their whole thing is to let it get it back, let it get it back, let it get it back, let it get it back. The more they do that, the more money they make, right? So if you're helping them do that, that's a great day for both, right?
Win-win.
If at the same time you have either a cash out, or mom's land or whatever that can be the basis for further capital, well, now you're going to be coming into deals, right, with your own money. Right. So there's other 3 parcels. You're not looking for someone else. If you cash out equity on this, on the term,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. No unnecessary partnerships.
No, you're going to put your own equity in. You go back to the same lenders and you say, hey, I'm doing the next 2 buildings.
Right.
This time I'm going ground up.
And stay with the mama. That's mama. She right.
Cash those out. Now you got even more money. Okay, now what I'm going to do? I'm going to go across the street. It goes exponential that way.
Yes, sir.
You take the model, you roll it out. Just don't
sir.
become a Republican while you do it, please. How people get, they get like, people,
stay independent.
Yeah, please don't help us with that.
Independent party. That would stay.
Okay. Well, it's libertarians, huh? Okay.
No.
I built this myself.
Not green, not libertarian, right? No, just independent and just joining with other independent-minded thinking people, man. That's really what it is about, really. And then, those other parties you could dibble in when it's good for you. Republicans are doing good right now.
You see the slippery slope.
Yeah.
I'm not a Republican, by the way.
Right.
So I'm not Democrat either. I've been a registered independent my entire voting life.
Right.
But
registered independent, exactly. Got you. Understood.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
You guys are in good position. It doesn't always feel like that, but but you are. You have longevity in place. You've done this before, right? And you're talking to people who are giving you terms.
That's
So go close that deal.
Yes, sir. We do that. Wow. Bless up. Thank you.
Yes, hi.
Pew, 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 pew.
Thanks, Saul. Because Saul got us all together.
And the king name. And the king's name?
Dos amigos.
Dos amigos.
Tell your name.
Thank you.
Tell your names,
informative session. I'm going to definitely be watching this like meticulously and going over and over.
You gonna watch it on your profile, right? Y'all got y'all
We'll
login.
upload us.
You're gonna upload it, and y'all can be able to watch it inside the login.
Oh, no,
Well, that's.
You almost caught it. I'm so sorry.
Oh, is that the camera?
No, not the camera. That was
Oh,
the box.
Well,
Damn.
happens. All right. We shall be good with that. Camera's in one piece, though,
It's
no?
almost successful.
Yeah, the camera.